Hello everyone, Gamer here, and welcome to my review of the new and upcoming mode for Hitman 3 known as Hitman 3 Freelancer. Hitman Freelancer is a mode that is coming out on January 26 of 2023, and the reason why I can do a review on this mode now is because me and hundreds of other fans got a taste of this mode through the closed technical test between November 3rd to 7th. Now, while I personally haven't covered Hitman on my channel, it's become one of my favorite franchises that I have played every game in the series so far. Hitman 3 in particular was released in January of 2021, and it's the third game to the World Assassination trilogy, essentially a trilogy story that spans 3 different games, whereas every other Hitman game is its own unique gameplay and story. If you are remotely interested in trying out the Hitman series, I say any of the games in the World Assassination trilogy is a perfect start. Just don't start with the first 2 games because they're f***ing hard. The idea behind a Hitman game is simple. You enter a location around the world, some more public like a fashion show in Paris, to a hostile environment like a militia camp in Colorado. Here, you are given an endless amount of opportunities to eliminate your targets who, one way or another, have committed a serious crime and justice has not been served. Hitman gives you the option of going loud and proud, killing a bunch of non-targets just so you can get to your main target, or go all stealthy and eliminate your target when no one is looking. Or you can make their deaths look like an accident. It's a series that requires more patience and observation, where the best moments of the experience is taking a good 10 to 20 minutes just to fire that one shot, or fire no shots at all and just find a creative way for your targets to die. The creativity of what you can do is the fun of it. And the World Assassination trilogy can provide hundreds of hours of replayable content with only a small amount of missions. Now, in a normal game of Hitman, you just need to eliminate your targets and head to an exit. Hitman 3 can be played with all maps and most of the content from Hitman 1 and 2 into one game. While it's not cheap if you get it all at once, you will be given an endless experience of satisfying missions that will have a constant tension of trying not to blow your cover while doing what you need to do to get your job done. Now, when it comes to Freelancer, the idea is that you play missions in a roguelike gameplay, eliminating members while completing optional objectives. While you're doing the missions, you can gather and buy equipment which you can store or use in your safe house. Take down leaders who act as elusive targets as you need to absorb their activities and narrow down your search to a number of suspects. And the more you unlock stuff and play it, the more you gain access to various parts of your safe house. While this mode does look like a lot of fun, there was reason to be skeptical. While Hitman has released worthwhile DLC content like additional maps and whole new missions entirely taking place in the same map, there were lots of additional stuff included in Hitman 3 in particular that seemed very scummy money-wise. I am of course talking about Hitman 3 Deluxe Pack and the 7 Deadly Sins DLC. While it does give you additional contracts and unlockables, the price value for it was way too overpriced and you're offered very little in return. While I did personally get these DLC myself because I'm a huge fan of the game, the price and worth was completely unjustified and horrible. At least when they added an additional map over the year, it was at least free, and the map in its entirety was worth more than whatever the Deluxe and 7 Deadly Sins had to offer combined. So there was lots of reasons to be skeptical since IO had the reputation of a great game, but with overpriced and underutilized DLC. I don't know about you guys, but I don't play DLC for additional costumes to wear and half-baked ideas that are easy to implement just because it takes place in a map already in the main campaign. If stuff like this is easy to add to the game, then there should not have been a price value added if you're offered very little in return. But I can say without a doubt, after playing the closed technical test, I think this will be a very worthwhile mode to play. Not only is it free, but it offers an endless amount of replayability that the Deluxe and 7 Deadly Sins didn't offer. While this doesn't justify their scummy actions, I can say that I'm glad that we'll get free content as long as we own the game. Now, there could be something scummy around the corner that makes this mode unplayable, but until then, I can say I do have high hopes for this new campaign. The story behind Freelancer is simple. You have a global economic scheme going around that allows members or investors of all walks of life to be able to purchase and exchange goods and services with easy to get away with criminal intentions behind them. I think it's supposed to be a reference to the abuse of cryptocurrency and NFTs, but the best way to sum it up is that it's black market money being used for crimes. And when the game starts, you start off with pretty much nothing available to you aside from one non-silenced pistol. You have 8 different contracts to choose from, and after reading the briefings of what to expect, you can select the contract and the mission begins. Throughout your main campaign, you are given missions where you go after Syndicate members. You are given any opportunity to eliminate them, and going Silent Assassin is completely optional. But with every mission, you are given 3 optional objectives to complete, and at some point, you can choose a 4th optional objective in order to obtain more Mercis. Mercis acts as your currency where you can go to a supplier that can offer you weapons and tools that you can keep, as long as you reach the exit with the weapons and tools in hand. There are safes with Mercis in them that can be cracked by scanning laptops, tablets, or paper with your camera. I don't know how the heck you hack paper, but the other solution is to just use an explosive to blow the case open instead. You can also find couriers around who are not targets, but you are given the option of pacifying them or eliminating them to gain Mercis. There's also stashes of crates throughout the map that will make a sound when you walk near them, making them very tempting and sometimes rewarding to go out of your way to get. Here, you can either gain more Mercis or obtain your choice of 1 out of 3 items. Why 47 can't just take all 3 is beyond me, but it's a simple mechanic of choosing what will work for you. While completing a mission, it is possible to complete every optional objective, which is recommended as you can save up a lot of Mercis for the next supplier in another mission. Although there may be circumstances where it will either be too hard to complete an objective or downright impossible. For example, this mission only had 1 member for me to eliminate. I have to go for a headshot, but I also have to do it with a silenced pistol or an unsilenced pistol. Obviously I went with silenced pistol so I can maintain a silent assassin rank, but moments like this show that being unable to complete every objective is not necessarily the fault of the player, but impossible depending on how the mission is set up. While some of you might see this as bad game design, I actually kinda like this. You eliminate your targets and try to complete as many objectives as you possibly can in one go. If you fail, it can be the fault of the player, or the choice of the player for what is less efficient. And if you complete all 4 in one go, awesome. More money, the better. You can also have the option to straight up ignore the targets and leave the mission. Doing this won't fail your campaign, but it does make it harder. Over time, other locations become alerted. Alerted territories are essentially the game on the hardest difficulty, and failing the mission means you fail the campaign. Even trying to leave the mission is not an option, as failing a campaign is a huge loss. Losing a campaign means you lose all of the equipment you had on you, and all of the tools that you had in your briefcases. Thankfully, the guns you didn't carry still remains, though I don't know if this is an oversight or if this was intentional. And you keep half of your Mercis on you, and thankfully, mastery unlocks stay the same. So while you do lose the entire campaign altogether, you are still making progress and having more than what you started off with, but you lose so much that you can feel how expensive it is to lose. This is such a frustrating immersion, but it's also a good one as it raises the tension of every move you make. High risk, high loss. And when you reach the final mission of the contract, whatever location you choose last will have a showdown with a Syndicate leader. Losing this mission or having the leader escape fails the entire campaign. It doesn't matter how far you are into it, you start the entire thing from scratch. To find the Syndicate leader, you can use your camera with all the intel you need, giving you 4 appearances of what your target should look like, while also showing the type of meetings they'll have, and 2 tells which are essentially activities or addictions that make them stand out. If one of your suspects matches all of these descriptions, you can mark them as a prime suspect and keep track of them if you want to eliminate them without getting caught. And eliminating a Syndicate member is difficult as they will be surrounded by lookouts and assassins. Assassins can kill you in 2 or 3 shots if your cover is blown, and lookouts are enforcers who can see through all disguises, and if they find you suspicious, they will immediately alert the assassins and nearby suspects to evacuate. There's no doubt the majority of everyone who failed this campaign was due to these damn lookout NPCs, as they can appear right the hell out of nowhere when you're not paying attention. While it is a unique roadblock, it can be the most frustrating thing in Freelancer mode. Thankfully, since Silent Assassin is optional, you can kill assassins, lookouts, and suspects without failing the mission or alerting the other suspects, and there are challenges that reward you for killing these specific non-targets, so if you clear out a few suspects, assassins, or lookouts without any witnesses or bodies being discovered, it should help ease the difficulty. Overall, I really like Freelancer mode. While it has its frustrating moments, especially with the showdowns, it is a different experience of playing Hitman that honestly could get itself its own game without being included in Hitman 3. Just like every Hitman game, it's full of trial and error. I can guarantee that even the best players are gonna fail the campaign at some point, as you gotta alter your playstyle, while using the tricks that you've learned in the normal campaign to guarantee a perfect mission. Overall, I think it's a solid mode, even in its beta state. But with that said, there are a few problems that could do some tweaking. One is that the suppliers ask you for way too much money for the big guns and very little for something like poison or an explosive. The reason why I bring this up is because smaller tools like explosions, poisons, lockpicks, or a wrench are far more useful than a non-silence assault rifle. Hitman is built on the idea of you eliminating a target discreetly and leaving no trace of your involvement, so making these guns be super expensive makes no sense to me and feels unbalanced. However, some cases the high prices can be justified. I mean, once you get the silenced sniper rifle and a silenced pistol, the rest of the campaign suddenly becomes easy. In fact, even the difficulty itself can be inconsistent. Like, the more you play the campaign, the harder it supposedly gets, although honestly I think it gets easier. The reason why is because in late game, you'll have all the silenced guns, poisons, and tools that you'll need to complete missions fast and efficiently. Sure, you get more alerted territories in late game, but even that is not that much of a big hindrance. What does get harder though is the showdowns. The later showdowns will have more suspects for you to inspect, the game will be on its highest difficulty with tons of NPCs, assassins, and lookouts covering almost every blind spot, but even the showdowns themselves can be easily cheesed. Once you get the Seeker 1 emetic gun, you practically have all you need to kill your target. Just get them in a discreet spot, shoot them with a dart, and as they go to vomit in a toilet, this is your chance to take them out with 0 witnesses. Pretty much, if you want a good chance of being these missions, you want the Seeker 1 gun for efficient emetic use, the lockpick to get to areas faster, a silenced pistol or sniper rifle so you can get away with a ballistic kill easily. So, while showdowns do get hard, I argue it gets easier with the other missions the further you go, as you have more weapons and tools to work with. And since some of the best ones are cheaper than the ill-advised big guns, it's honestly a campaign with very inconsistent difficulty, especially in the normal missions where you're just taking out a Syndicate member who thankfully never flee from a mission when spooked. And even if you're close to failing the showdowns, even that can be cheesed. Your handler Diana will only warn you that the target is leaving if the suspect who is the target is leaving, so sometimes it's easy to tell who they are if you notice that they are the next ones to evacuate. But with that said, most of my game overs was due to the lookouts blowing my cover and assassins downing me in 2 or 3 hits. So while the showdowns are rightfully the hardest part of the game, the difficulty overall is said to get harder, but it actually gets easier with the normal missions. All you gotta do is just complete the optional objectives, take out the couriers, and raise the money for the best and most efficient silent equipment that can easily be exploited for a guaranteed silent assassin rank. It is a trial and error mode where learning from your mistakes and recklessness can help you, but other times the randomness factor can be what ruins your run when you're doing such a good job. Cameras will be where they never were before in the normal gameplay, guards and NPCs will be in areas that they aren't usually, and while I like most of it, it can be frustrating when a run that you sink a few hours into gets wasted because of some random asshole who decided to assume you're suspicious because you looked funny. If it's too risky completing an optional objective, you don't have to go for it. And if an optional objective seems uncompletable, there's a good chance that you'll find something in the map from suppliers or stash crates that will give you exactly what you need to complete the objective. Though these conveniences won't happen all the time, but I definitely don't recommend skipping normal missions unless your intent is to speedrun the campaign. And also, some of the optional objectives are questionable. There are some where you have to kill 3 guards using a specific weapon, or one where you have to hide in a closet or container every 2.5 minutes. I mean, I get that it adds onto the challenge, but why would these objectives matter to 47 in particular, let alone whoever's paying him for the contract? Well, the best way to sum it up is that it's simple video game logic. After all, this is a series where you can make people slip on a banana peel in this game. Now, the only other thing to mention is the safe house, the challenges, and the mastery. For those who don't know, completing challenges in the World Assassination Trilogy gives your mastery rank some points, and if you reach a certain level, you unlock things such as starting locations and new equipment that you can take with you on any mission. In Freelancer mode, you have a mastery level of 25, all of which unlocks various rooms and customizable options to change up the look of your house, and add a lot of personality. While it is a cool feature, it does feel quite barren, as sometimes you only have 1 or 2 customizable options. I'm sure this is due to the fact that the mode is unfinished and that there will be more customizable options later down the road, but even these options themselves don't do anything for you gameplay-wise. Sure, you get multiple vehicles as starting locations and take some equipment with you that you can find around the house, but I feel like the people who would enjoy this aren't really the type of people who would play a Hitman game. I feel like a good majority of players would just stick in the basement and prepare for their next assignment rather than seeing 47 chop some wood or meditate while Ava Maria is playing. Though, leveling up your mastery is worth it as you can unlock weapons and increase your capacity for the equipment that you can bring with you on missions, and since failing a campaign has no effect on your challenges and mastery level progression, you are always having more when you start from scratch than whatever you were limited to back then. But I don't know, why does 47 need to be at a mastery level of 4 just to use the bathroom? God, the poor guy's bladder. And the other thing to mention is the challenges. A lot of these challenges can be beaten even with a limited time with the closed technical test. In fact, some have maxed out the mastery before the closed technical test was over. Personally, I didn't max out the mastery as I was trying to script for this review, but I did manage to beat the entire campaign once, which offers absolutely nothing, other than having all of your equipment with you when you start the campaign again from the beginning. Now, some of these challenges are straightforward, but holy fucking hell are some of these challenges asking for a lot. There's challenges where you have to kill over 50 targets in each location, but the worst challenge is somehow killing 10,000 of them across the entire campaign. While this mode does have a lot of replayability, holy fuck are some of these challenges so demanding. Honestly, I think it would take you more time 100%ing all these challenges than 100%ing the normal campaign just to beat it. Now, maybe the numbers are set high on purpose so players can't 100% everything in the limited time of the beta test, but I think these numbers should be lower than what is required here. I mean, once you have maxed out the mastery rank for Freelancer, there's literally no reason to complete every challenge in this mode other than for bragging rights. But overall, I think Freelancer is a really good mode to add to Hitman 3, even if there are some flaws with it. The difficulty definitely needs some balancing, the prices from the suppliers needs to be reworked so it's harder to get the more useful equipment and cheaper to get the loud guns because the other way around makes no sense. And while the rewards for the mastery is good, the challenges need to have lower numbers than the amount that is required to 100% the whole mode, and there needs to be more customizable options for the safe house, or at least some activities you can do to help 47 on his missions, rather than just be there for personality's sake. Because I can assure you, nobody cares about 47 painting a shed or having the right dining table set that you can never use. there needs to be more to the safe house. Even the shooting range is lacking. So overall, my thoughts are that the roguelike gameplay of Freelancer is solid, but the stuff that needs balancing out is the difficulty with the normal missions, as it actually gets easier the more you play. More missions to get to the next showdown does not automatically mean harder. The camera feature should probably mark what your target has to make the mechanic less tedious and less likely for you to be spotted by a lookout out of the blue. There needs to be more options for the safe house and options that actually help 47 with his missions, and the challenges need to be less demanding than what is given here. Some of these are fine, but working up to kill 10,000 members is just unacceptable. But even with the flaws I've mentioned, I'm sure there's a good chance that most of this will be ironed out before the final release on January 26. If you got to play the technical test yourself, be sure to tell me what you thought of it and what you think needs improvement. Do you think it's a good addition to Hitman 3 or a mode that overstates its welcome? Me? I personally really like it overall, but it definitely needs some balancing, and I hope that IO can fix these issues so the mode flows better than what we got in the close technical test. Overall, I give Hitman Freelancer an 8 out of 10. It can definitely use improvements, but what we have is solid and a good change of pace to the usual gameplay of the normal campaign. Just please IO, please release this mode for free and don't demand a lot of money out of us just like you did with the 7 Deadly Sins. It's clear that IO does care for its audience, but even when they do great, there's always lots of room for improvement. And I hope, when we finally get this mode, it will be the best addition included in a Hitman game ever. Until then, thank you so much for watching my review on Hitman 3 Freelancer. Be sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe, and ding the bell for more It's a Gamer content. And I'll see you all in another video. But for now, I need to use the bathroom.